this is the first one we're doing. Aileyugg versus Chinese name that I don't know. So let's see who wins this one. Yeah, I'm all stoked for this, so let's get started. Okay? Alright, so Aileyugg is using the Haudenosaunee, and Chinese fella's using Russians. Okay, so this should be pretty neat. Now, give me a bit of a memory jog, but I don't think we've seen Haudenosaunee at all this tournament yet. Believe it, yeah, I don't think we've even seen Haudenosaunee at all. I'm pretty surprised. You know, Haudenosaunee are really good in 1 versus 1. They're a pretty solid civ. They're one of the easiest rush civs to use in 1v1 actually, because their home city selection, their build, very reliable. Very, very reliable. So, yeah, let's see if Haudenosaunee can beat the Russians here, because that's going to be a tough matchup. You got two very hyper-aggro 1v1 civs sort of dueling each other here, so let's see if Haudenosaunee can beat Russians or vice versa. That'll be very interesting to see. So, typically when you see the Haudenosaunee, one of the most important things that you do, build a trading post. Yeah, typically you use your starting wood to get a trading post, and then you do any necessary wood chopping or treasure collection to get a longhouse as needed. Yeah, basically the Haudenosaunee love to get unit shipments out very quick out of the door to facilitate their rush. Namely, their Kanye West Horsemen. It's the Kanye Horsemen, but we call it Kanye West Horsemen here in the AoE3 community. The Tomahawks and the Aileyugg Bowmen. The Aileyugg Bowmen are obviously your anti-infantry archers, and then Tomahawks, they're musketeers, but instead of firing a musket, they just throw an axe at you. Yeah, that's pretty scary, throwing a literal axe at you. I'd rather get attacked with a musket than a throwing axe, honestly. Little baby bullet versus a big giant swinging blade spinning through the air. Ugh. But, yep, it looks like Russians are starting with their wood trickle, distributivism. This is always going to be their starting card here because they don't get any villager cards at all, basically. As for the Haudenosaunee, they're going to go for 3 villagers because they do get villager cards and they're going to use them. So, yeah, that's pretty good. Let's look around the map here and see if there's any huge treasures they get. This is just herdables. Typically, when I see herdables on the map, I'm like, yuck, ew, I don't want that. I want quick-to-use resources, personally. That's just me, personally. Animals can be okay. Sometimes they help out later when you're doing a fight. So, maybe pick up that coyote. Ooh, the Haudenosaunee got 25 wood. That's pretty good. That can go right into training a single tomahawk. That's not bad at all. Yeah, because if I remember correctly, tomahawks cost about 75 food, just like a musket, but instead of a gold cost, they get a wood cost. So, yeah, free tomahawk. Yay. 30 XP. Make sure you grab this before somebody steals it from you. Yeah, that'd be very important. Whoa, look at this. Sticking the longhouse all the way up here. That's a big, far away place to put a longhouse. That looks like a forward base, potentially. Oh, yeah. So what treasure you got here? I'm assuming this is 85 wood. Yep, basswood, 85 wood. Would be a good acquisition. Russians going with the quartermaster for 400 wood to help them get some blockhouses and unstoppable Streletsies down. Haudenosaunee are already in age 2. They age up very fast because they have the messenger politician, and it just lets them age up super quickly out of the gate. Let's see what he does with this travois. Every time you age up with the Haudenosaunee, you get a free travois. And the travois can turn into anything. It can turn into a longhouse, war hut, corral, siege workshop, whatever you want. So usually it's going to be turned into a war hut that will act as a tower. So it's basically a Native American blockhouse, because blockhouses, if you remember, also shoot at nearby units. And they train your infantry. So, yeah. Your Aileyugg Bowmen, your Tomahawks, and later your Forest Prowlers. For these typical 1v1 rush games with the Haudenosaunee, the only ones you need to worry about are the Archers, the Aileyuggs, and then the Tomahawks. So the Aileyuggs are one of the only units in the game that only cost 1 resource, 100 food. So you literally don't need wood or gold to make these things, which can sometimes make them quite affordable to add in your army. As long as you got enough hunts, the Aina bowmen can flow pretty freely, honestly. So starting with a couple of Aina bowmen there, shipping in the Kanye West horsemen, about 4 of them. I'm assuming Russians are going to ship in Cossacks, so it's going to be a bit of handicap against each other. Personally, I think the Kanye West horsemen are a bit stronger than the Cossacks, but the Cossacks arrive in a bit larger numbers since they're a 1-pop caveat, whereas the Kanye West horsemen are a 2-pop base one. Wow, you're pretty lucky in this forward base to have a 320 XP treasure right next to it. This is going to give Haudenosaunee a huge boost. As I said before, Haudenosaunee love quick, fast-acting unit shipments. They love to steamroll them like crazy. Stacks of archers, stacks of tomahawks, and stacks of cavalry. So this is looking like another shipment for Haudenosaunee there. Russians going with spice trade. Interesting choice. Going for the hunting boost. Now that's going to give them a bit more food to work with, which could be good. Because as you know, Russians train their units in blocks, including their villagers and their infantry. So you need a lot of food to pop things out of these blockhouses, as well as the town center. So frankly, getting a hunting boost, I think it's understandable. Also, they got their market over there and getting hunting dogs. So they're looking to get as much food gather rate improvements as possible because they know these Haudenosaunee are going to be swooping in and out and trying to press them as hard as they can with all 3 of their different units. Recruits are the unit of choice by the Russians. I don't know how that's going to go versus these archers though. These Aina bowmen will drop them very quickly. So we better be careful with these things. Yeah, see that right there? Just 1 volley, enough to take a recruit out. And then you'll have to recruit more recruits, obviously. That's what they're called, recruits. Alright, so Kanye West horsemen doing a great job against the Cossacks. Taking some of the recruits to go into melee versus the Kanye West horsemen to get an edge. Not that great since, again, they're a pretty weak musketeer. They're cheap, but they're weak. Kind of the theme of the whole Russian civ, especially on the infantry side of things. For that volley, I think the Haudenosaunee did pretty well. They were able to maintain most of their archer stack and wipe out majority of the Cossacks, wipe out a ton of recruits, force the Russians to get Minutemen, which obviously costs them about 150 food and gold to get, so I think Haudenosaunee is in a winning position here. One thing that the Haudenosaunee are totally winning on with this hyper-aggressive strategy, map control. Map control, map control. So while the Russians are stuck in their little base here, trying to keep the town center and the blockhouses safe against all harm, Haudenosaunee get a run of the map and get to go to all the hunts, all the mines. They get to do whatever they want, and that's sort of how the Haudenosaunee love to play. They keep you so cooped up in your base that you don't get to contest any of the map's resources, and thus, with infinite hunts, the 100 food on these Aina bowmen is quite affordable. You can stack tons and tons of them. Yeah. The Russians forced to get a couple of unstoppable Streletsies. That's me, by the way, over there, unstoppable Streletsy. Cheap but weak. Cheap but weak skirmisher, of course. Actually training Kanye West horsemen from a corral. So this Haudenosaunee is doing so well with map control and resource acquisition that they're actually able to get in the cavalry now too, on top of the archers. That's pretty big because now any unstoppable Streletsies you make, they're not looking too good anymore because now there's actual hand cavalry being trained on the field. Not just that starting shipment anymore, no, they're actually being trained at this point. Also picking up spirit medicine, basically an HP and stat boost for your villagers. At the moment, it seems like there's a very low likelihood that Russia will be in any sort of position to pressure these vills, but in the rare event that a batch of Cossacks is shipped out to do so, at least they'll be able to fend them off pretty well, since they're a pretty flimsy handicap. Archers going for another volley here. They will engage with the Russian army head-on. The thing is, Russians will always have a defensive advantage because they got the town center that can be garrisoned, plus they got the blockhouses here that can shoot as well. So if you're the Russian player, you kind of want to fight the Haudenosaunee in the middle of your base. That is, of course, if your blockhouses can stand up, right? Obviously, there's so many archers here that these infantry are dropping fast. You know, these Kanye West horsemen are able to stay in the fight because basically the archers are dropping the recruits so quickly that their bayonets are really not able to deal with them appropriately. There's still even, there was still even one trailing them up there. So, yeah, this Haudenosaunee is pressuring very deep, very deep. This blockhouse is more than halfway down. That's one defensive structure dead. This one will probably come next. At this point, the Russians basically can't keep any of their units protected at this point, and as soon as they come out, the Haudenosaunee army is right there to drop them. You know, one of the things that make these AN and Bowmen pretty dangerous, they're an archer unit. They got a rate of fire of 1.5 versus the 3 on these skirmishers, which means these archers are shooting twice as fast. So they can rapidly go through an army of infantry very quickly as soon as they spawn out. Doesn't matter if you have a block of 5 to 10 units from a blockhouse, those archers will shred them as soon as they're out of the gate, and all those resources go to waste. To make it worse, this Haudenosaunee is in such good shape he's making cavalry, so any unstoppable Streletsys you make are going to be flagged down by the cav as well. So I mean, this is just a death ball here of hand cav and archers. Something that this Russian can't even deal with. They did try building another blockhouse. It's going to stall a little bit more time, but how much more time? Probably not a lot. I can see this Russia falling rather quickly here. So, yeah, quite intense. Blockhouse is almost down there. Recruits are going to try to contest. They're going to be forced back, obviously. And then the Kanye West Horsemen just trying to soak up bullets at this point. You know, they don't even have to chase them down. They just need to act as a buffer and a protection against the buildings and the infantry on the field for the archers to do their job. You know, yeah, this blockhouse should be done soon. They're building another blockhouse here. They're stalling for even more time, but I think stalling for time is a waste of time. You know, you're not going to win the match doing this, and in fact, you're burning through all your wood reserves. Actually, you've burned through all your wood reserves at this point. Going for Sevastopol so you can actually get the blockhouse finished in time? Yeah, it's a pretty desperate call there, but what can you do? The Bills are being downed right now, and it's over. It's clearly over. That Haudenosaunee played a very intense game of aggression there, and I really think they did a great demonstration of why Haudenosaunee, one of the best 1v1 civs, you know? Ottomans do it through their fast fortress and fast industrial. Haudenosaunee do it through just straight up H2 aggression. Pressuring the opponent very hard, you know? I honestly think we should see some Haudenosaunee going up against the Ottoman players. That would be interesting.